Icon Radio, your number one entertainment plug.
So welcome to Deep Talk, the show about wisdom, truth, going deep into energy, people, vibrations, life. So happy to be here. My guest today is the beautiful Paula Aranz. Paula is a divine, feminine, and masculine facilitator. And we're going to, understand a little bit more what that means today. So Paula, welcome.
Thank you.
And for everybody out there, remember you can find us on www.iconradio.co.ke and our handles on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook are Icon Radio KE. Great. Paula, welcome.
Thank you.
So before you tell me who you are, what you do, what you've been doing, maybe you could, I can ask a question. It's an interesting question to start off. If I take away your name, your gender, your title, your profession, your experience, your relationships, and your status, who are you?
The first word that was coming to my mind, it was love.
Love. Beautiful.
Which I was not recognizing myself like that some time back. But now I'm getting into feeling that reality in me.
Okay. So is that something that just came to you now, or is that something you've actually thought about in terms of who you really are?
Yeah, I'm getting in contact with
more and more with
more
that.
And more of who I really are. And right now it just pop up the password.
Yeah, beautiful.
So it has sense actually.
Yeah, of course, everything has sense. So, and now maybe a formal introduction. So tell me a little bit about, yourself and what you do, where you've been, and how you're here.
Okay. Well, thank you as well for inviting me. Well, I'm Spanish, although I've been living here in Kenya for 6 years, more or less. And I've been always working in the social field. I'm a social worker by the university degrees. So I've been always working in the social field with communities, with groups, and always wanted to make a change in the world until I realized I couldn't make any change in the world if I was not making a change in myself. So when I get here, I was working in an NGO, and I was feeling something was missing, and I just decided to stop and take some time for myself. I started my spiritual journey like 5 years ago, and is where I started finding the pieces that they were missing, and where I was connecting more with my feminine energy, which I was being always connected from the activism, and from the political side, the activism, feminism, always from the rational and mental way. But I was missing that feminine spiritual part that it came in the moment I stop, I start listening to myself, I start connecting with that feminine energy, which is exactly that, slowness, silence, and there I start studying also life coach, menstrual therapy, healing of uterine memories, ovarian breathing, feminine alchemy, connecting with all the energies that are inside us, and realizing the power that is inside us and all the wisdom that we all have and our bodies are bringing to us. And because we are so disconnected, we are not able to get in touch with it and really feel it. So I took that journey, and I start now sharing it with other women as well. Just by itself. I didn't even plan for it. It just started happening by the time I was experimenting on myself, healing myself, and getting more in touch with that feminine part of me, which I was rejecting, actually.
So I think there's a lot of words there that you've used that most people are not going to know what they mean. So the first word I want to ask you about, what do you mean when you say spirituality?
For me, spirituality is connecting with my truth, with that inner guidance that we all have. I've been for so many years fighting with the spirituality because I was connecting it with religion, and I didn't have good experience with religion. So I was very against every kind of religion. And of course, very separated and distant from spirituality, which is what I feel is more like connecting with my truth, with my inner guidance, with who I really are. And also realizing that at the end, we are all one. We are all made by the same energy. It's the energy that is creating all us. And yeah, that part of being in connection, with who we really are, which is more than bigger than we can even really think with our minds. Yeah.
So I wanted to add something just to take from what you said, because this question of who we really are, right? So like, okay, who are I? My name is so-and-so. My name is so-and-so. That's why I always ask the question, like, who are you without all of that, right? And for you said love. So for me, just for the people, the viewers at home and the listeners at home, I mean, if you really want a taste of who you are, go back to when you were a child. Who were you? Because at that time you had a name, but it wasn't really important to you. Like, who were you at that point? What were you feeling at that point? And that is something going to help you to connect with what Paula is saying, I think, right? Yeah. With who you are. But then we also get into like who we really are is also now we go to how to explain that we are also everything in the cosmos. But it's a big jump. But that's a big jump, right? To go from who you were as a child, who you feel you were as a child. Just remember that. I think that's a good starting point for you to start on that journey, that spiritual journey, right? And spirituality is interesting because it is coming up more and more, and it's associated with a lot of stuff, and I do philosophy, spiritual political philosophy. And so a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm not really spiritual. I'm not interested in spirituality. And I'm like, you absolutely are spiritual, but you're just assuming this is something about religion and worship and going to church and all of that kind of stuff, which is part of spirituality, right? But to me, spirituality is, I explain it by saying it is all the knowledge of the realm of energy that created our physical world. So there's physics, biology, chemistry. These are the sciences of our physical world. And spirituality is really the science of the non-physical. And the non-physical is what created the physical. So it is the science of vibration. That's how I also explain it. So just to share both, I hope that gives us a little bit more clarity, because it's hard to talk about these things and people are like assuming they're something else. Yeah. So we're going to take a break for now. We'll be right back after this.
Icon Radio.
And welcome back to Deep Talk. We're here with Paula Arans, Divine Feminine Facilitator, and moving towards Divine Masculine. Yes, and we're going to talk about that now. So let's look at the second words you talked about. But actually, before we get there, I want to ask you, so, you said you wanted to take this, you took a time out. What made you take the time out?
I was feeling like I was always living in the action, doing one thing after another one and after another one, and then always busy doing many things, and nothing was fulfilling me. I was feeling frustrated. I was feeling drained. I was feeling unhappy, and actually realized I was fighting with everyone. That idea of changing the world was coming through the fight and through the, trying to find a way of prove that I was right and my ways or my thinking was right and whatever. And at the end, it was just a fight that was making me drain my energy and not getting anything at all. So I was so tired, and I just realized I was doing the same thing, trying to make a change in the same way, and the result was always the same one. And it wasn't good for me. So I decided then I need to stop. I need to stop all this action, all this chaos around me, to see if I can find other way to do things or to find myself on. And it made totally sense, because only in the silence, when you stop, is when you can really hear what it cannot be heard when there is a lot of noise. It's like when there is new moon, it's all darkness, but now you can see so clear the stars that you cannot see them normally. So it was that feeling of, this is too much that I cannot hear anything else right now. And I'm just doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same result. So that must be another way. So let me just try something else and stop.
So was it a conscious choice to stop, or was it almost not a choice? Like, I just can't do it anymore.
Other times in my life, I have already passed through a moment where my body took the action for me because I was not doing it. I had an accident in the mountain. I broke my ankle and I was almost 1 year recovering and passing through 2 surgeries. And yeah, it was a tough moment where my body said, you are not making the decision. Let me make it for you. Mm-hmm. Now you are going to stop. So that was a time where I really took time for myself because I didn't have any other way. But I got back to the cycle as soon as I was recovered. Maybe more light this time, but still I was back into the cycle. So when I realized I was getting back and repeating the same thing, I realized my body was going to stop me again. And the last time it was already huge, the stop I had. So I said, if you don't want to finish, to end up the same way, now I really need to decide by myself to stop. Mm. And it's what I did.
Was it scary?
At that point, somehow it was, but it felt so right. It was like, yeah, it's a bit scary, but on the other hand, I'm just can't wait to be free of all this. Yeah.
And that moment where you stopped and you left everything you knew, like, because I've also done that, like, because you're leaving more than a job. You're leaving an identity. You're leaving a security. You're leaving a framework for your life. You're leaving your lifestyle. You're leaving what people who know you, how they know you. How did that feel?
Yeah, I think sometimes it was a roller coaster. And also it's when I start to understand my cycles as well, and that my moods will change, and that's fine. That I don't need to be always happy. I don't always need to be in top of the hill, That is fine also if there are some days that I'm sad. So it's when I really start getting in contact with my emotions and allowing myself to feel. And see the patterns as well of trying to run away from them, when you are sad, you don't want to be there, so you try to do something.
Yeah, you eat or you watch TV. Yes, that's what I tend to do. I tend to eat or watch TV. Yeah.
Exactly. But then, you start realizing, okay, I'm really hungry, or I'm just doing it because I don't want to be in this uncomfortable emotion. Uh-huh. So, yeah, it was like that. Some days I was so happy, and other days it was feeling like, but what am I doing? Where I'm going with this? What I'm going to do in some months from now? I don't have any plan. I don't even have a clue of what I'm going to do, who I am,
Yeah. So where did you go? Were you in Nairobi at that time? Were you in Kenya?
Yes.
And so you just stayed home?
Yes. I stayed at home.
Stayed home for like months?
Yes, and actually then also COVID happened at some point.
So you stayed home some more. Yeah.
Yes. So I didn't even have a choice. The universe facilitated for me to
stay longer. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, actually I enjoyed that at first. I really enjoyed because
at first, yeah.
I decided to move to a house with a little garden with my herbs, with a shamba. So I was even enjoying a lot. Yeah.
And what has the journey been like since then?
Very transformative. And as you were saying, I think I was coming back to who I was when I was a child. I was starting remembering things that I was already, when I was a child, that I was forgetting. I was not allowing me to play, and the things that I used to like, they were kid things, whatever. And I just start realizing that I start coming back to them little by little. So it has been a journey of remembering, I think. Remembering things that they were always inside me, that I was not allowing them to show up and to express through me. Yeah.
And did it make you feel sad for having like blocked that part of yourself out for so long?
So much. So much. Actually, at the beginning, I was even blaming myself, But that's something we are very used to do, to blame ourselves, to punish ourselves. And also it was difficult to accept it, that the person who have mistreated me the most, it was just myself. And that's hard to realize and to accept. So it was a journey to also embrace that and to forgive myself. I'm still on that, There is always things that come up and you realize, but yeah, I think that was the journey, like realizing those things are painful, but there is where the healing comes. Yeah.
Jesus taught that love thy neighbor as thyself. And I really feel like, having been on the journey myself, the same journey, that actually, if we loved ourselves as we love our neighbor, if we were as nice to ourselves as we are to people we love, it would be very different, because we're all really beating ourselves up all the time. You're not good enough. You're not beautiful enough. You're not rich enough. You're not enough. You're too this. You're too that. You're too, So, yeah. To the listeners out there, just try one day, or even just for 5 minutes. Try to be as nice to yourself as you would be to a person you love. You really see how different it is. Yeah, so I think that's a good place to take a break at. We'll be right back after this.
Icon Radio.
Welcome back to Deep Talk with beautiful Paula. So Paula, you went on this journey, and how did you connect with all this divine feminine? What was interesting you? What was calling you? And also, what is it really?
For me, well, as I said before, everything started when, in my young age, I was very connected through feminism, but it was, something was missing there. And I realized it was the connection with my body. So I remember everything started with when I stopped taking the pill. I've been taking the contraceptive pill for so many years because of a medical issue. In those times, they were advising to take the pill for almost everything that happened in your body. And I realized what was happening with that pill is that I was not feeling anything. I was not able to connect with myself, with what was really being in a woman's body. So when I stopped taking the pill, I start connecting with my cycle. Not only menstruation, but the whole cycle. It has different phases.
So just to clarify, that's the reproductive cycle, what people call it biologically.
Yes.
The reproductive cycle.
Or menstrual cycle.
Or the hormonal cycle. It's the hormonal cycle.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. So that's a possibility that our body gave us to really get in touch with what is happening. So I start to understand that my moods were changing according to the phase I was going through. Also my physical body.
How did you start realizing this?
Because I was in search. So when I took this break and I started with this internal work, this coaching, this information started appearing. Some teachers start appearing in my way that were talking about this connection with our cycle. And me, I was curious because I have never been able to feel my cycle. Because of the pills, I was always feeling the same. So as I start listening to these things, I get into a training where I was, during 6 months, studying my body, my cycle, every day taking notes, journaling, and start seeing the differences between the phases of my cycle.
And you saw a clear pattern?
Clear, very clear. In each phase, also I was seeing how the environment and the external things are happening around me were affecting my cycle as well. So I start to understand myself. And because of understanding and knowing myself, I was also able to start accepting what was happening and acknowledge it, validate it, no? Because always sometimes we need someone who validates what we are feeling or what we think is right. But in this way, I was just seeing it there. Through my own observation and my own study of my body, I was just seeing it there. I used to take my records and make comparisons to see the patterns. So I also start understanding how to cover my needs. Also give voice to my needs, like really allow myself to put name to my needs and see how can I cover them, because also it's going to be different. In different phases of my cycle, I'm going to cover them in different ways.
So some phases you're feeling like you want to be under a blanket, you want to be warm, so you're wearing more warm things and wearing a scarf, maybe making yourself feel safe, right?
Exactly.
And other times you give yourself more freedom, you allow yourself to go and explore and celebrate.
Exactly.
And you were seeing this pattern following like a cycle every month.
Exactly.
Or every period.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also to realize that, for example, there are certain phases, like, for example, menstruation or premenstruation, which are phases that in society, they are very stigmatized.
Yeah. Like PMSing, like, stay away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't talk to her because, she's on those days
Yeah.
or things like that. And then what we do is to deny to ourselves that something is happening and we actually have less energy. We don't want to be with more people because we need that time with ourselves. It's time to release, time to rest, time to stop. But we live in a society with the resting time is not allowed. So then when we reach to this point, it's like we need to force ourselves and to say that, yeah, we are okay and we can do everything and we can keep in the same mood, no? And in the same rhythm, like in the other phases. But the reality is that our body is so busy, is so using a lot of energy, and we really need to rest. But how we live is not allowing us, and we then don't allow ourselves. So by understanding these things, I start seeing it, trying things like, okay, let me rest and see what is the difference. And actually it's so amazing because even we try always to adapt ourselves to the social rhythm. But when you start understanding yourself, you realize you can adapt the external life to your cycle.
Wow, that seems like impossible, because there's so much. You have to go to work, you have to do this, you have a meeting. Are you saying you cancel all your meetings when you're menstruating?
There was a time I was doing it, yeah.
Well,
and
because you would know, because you were following your cycle, so you were able to see, okay, these days I'm not available, and you plan and you say, I don't take meetings on these days.
Exactly. Or you can take meetings, but you take the ones because also in that moment you are in a very intuitive energy. Mm-hmm. So also it's good for some things. So the thing about knowing your cycle is that you can plan your life a bit more accordingly with your cycle. So if you have a meeting that requires a lot of your energy, maybe you will try to plan for the pre-ovulation, ovulation, that you are more active. And the other ones, maybe you can leave them for the other times. Obviously, we live the society we live, and we can, as you say, make it so perfect, but still, if we don't know it for sure, we can't do anything about it. But if we know, we can start playing with that and seeing the differences.
So there's two things I want to ask you about. Well, the first is a comment, because I saw a comedian on Instagram today. Was it yesterday or today? And she was a woman, and she was like, this advertising around feminine hygiene, what's called feminine hygiene, which is cleanliness products, because we are dirty when we are menstruating, right? First of all, we need to understand that a bit deeper. Like menstruation, is it dirtiness or is it sacred? Is it holy? Because it's like, that's the power we have to give life. So why is it dirty now? You know what I'm saying? But she had this sketch where she was basically saying that doctors have found that when you're on your period, and the period cramps are all like the same levels of pain you feel when you're having a heart attack or a mild heart attack. And yet in all these feminine hygiene products, we're like, you can do anything on your period. Go and ride a horse and jump around and climb a mountain. Be free. And it's kind of like, it's like telling you that if you're not doing this kind of things, you're weak, you're something. And so we're actually torturing women with this kind of marketing, instead of saying, take it easy, be at rest, take a day off work. Imagine if we had got a day off work, at least for the first day of our period,
Yeah.
Or even a work from home where you can just, be in your own space. So, I wanted to talk about the red tent movement, but let's talk about that after. I wanted to ask you about this heightened intuition. If you can tell us a little bit more about that.
The what, sorry?
The heightened intuition you spoke about,
Yeah. Women, we are very intuitive. We are also rational, okay? It's like two different kinds of intelligence, the rational one and the intuitive. We have both, obviously. We are both energies, but we are very intuitive, and that means that sometimes we just know things, and we can't just prove them with a
rational mind.
Yes, with a rational mind, or with clues, or with numbers. We just feel it. It's something we feel. That's why it's so important for us when we start coming back to feel and to connect with our emotions, because they are totally and direct connected with our intuition. When we do make a decision or do something, the feeling we are getting from that decision is giving us the clue if we are in the right path or not. So they are very connected. So it's something that we have inside us that no one can teach us. It's just by the connection with ourselves, the listening, those time in rest, that silence. That's why also the menstruation is a moment for us to stop, because sometimes the pain comes so that we stop, so that we don't have a chance. It's like what I was saying before about
the body stops you when you need to.
Is what it happens. The women who experience a lot of pain sometimes might be related with that. Like, because you need to stop. It's the only way you can let me rest, and then connect with, if you are willing, and if you want, with that intuition, that inner guidance.
So is that intuition heightened around the time of your period?
Yes, during menstruation and during premenstruation as well.
There's a heightened intuition.
Yeah.
And for the beautiful men out there, for the divine masculine, do they also have access to this intuition in there? They have also cycles?
Of course. We are all cyclicals. We are all moving in cycles. It's just like nature. If we see nature, there is nothing that is always the same. It's always moving through cycles. So men are also the same, although they have a different cycle. Mm-hmm. So they also can experience different moods
and they also have this intuition.
Yes.
And in certain parts of their cycle, they can also connect more with their intuition.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Well, we're going to talk about that more when we come back.
Icon Radio.
Welcome back to Deep Talk with Paula. So Paula, I really want you to share, because you've shared this with me a little bit, but I really, really want you to share this whole red tent movement and where it came from.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you the origin of this, which for me it was very amazing to discover.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Yeah, so long time ago, in all societies, there used to be these sacred spaces for women. They were called different ways. Now it has become the Red Tent movement. And also there are different movements who are based on the same origin, to say. But a long time ago in these communities, normally the women used to gather in sacred spaces to share about the wisdom of our bodies. So they used to be a space where the wisdom was transferred from the old women to the younger. And it was information about fertility, about menstruation, even about our sexual energy and sexuality. So it was a space where all these things could be shared and the young women could learn about their bodies and how to go through all this, even about the cycle and the different phases of the cycle, because that's what it is, to differentiate your ovulation, your menstruation, all those things. And there were spaces also where all of them, they were gathering to have to menstruate together. Long time ago, women used to menstruate at the same time.
Like all women?
Yeah?
All women used to menstruate all at the same time?
Yeah, normally they used to go with the moon. But we used to lose that because now, you know, when the people were very connected with nature, they were with nature. With
yeah,
the moon.
true.
But now we
have cell phones and wireless and all of that interfering with our bodies.
Exactly. So
there was a time where everybody would menstruate. And it's true because we know that when women come together and they stay for a while together, they start synchronizing their cycles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because our bodies remember, they have those memories somewhere, very hidden somewhere, but they are still there.
Yeah.
So yeah, at some point it used to happen. Then we start losing it. But also they start gathering. Actually now.
So they would go away to a special place in the community or in the village or wherever, or outside the village, maybe in the forest.
Yeah.
And all the women would be together.
Yes.
And they would tell stories and they would share wisdom and knowledge. And would they do like different ceremonies?
Yes. Even they used to offer their blood to the earth, and with intentions, you know, offerings to get rain for the harvest time.
And so the men at this time, they used to really respect that. So I remember you saying something like the men used to regard them as very sacred right now. And so they would go with the desires of the community. You know what I'm saying? Like in some sense, they were emissaries for the community. Not emissaries, but you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like they had a special role in society during that time.
Yeah.
So the men would potentially give them all the requirements and requests for their community at that time. And then the women would go and pray and do these ceremonies at that time and connect and create those and call in those requests into the physical world.
Yeah. Also,
they were like shamans.
Yes, and also they have the task of protecting the space, you know, to hold that space safe for them to be able to do what they...
Who has the task to hold the space?
The men.
The men would keep that space safe and for the women to be able to do that.
Exactly. Because it was like a teamwork, you know. All the community needed the wisdom that the women were connecting with during those days. And they also needed to protect that wisdom.
So they would come back with messages and insights to the community.
Exactly. So it was a teamwork. Both parts were needed to be able to create that balance. So in the moment that those things also now, sometimes some communities are taking away the women when they are menstruating, but with a very different meaning.
Yes,
right now.
It's still happening. Like you can't enter the temple, you can't go, you have to be isolated. But I call it like toxification, right? Exactly. It was really transformed into something that was really not where it started.
Exactly. And before it was known that it was something beneficial for everyone and that everyone was a role to play on that. Because also for the women to be in a safe space in the forest or in that sacred space, also the men were holding that space for them to be able to do.
So let me ask you now, because of course this is quite intimidating. If I'm a man, I'm like, okay, well, women have all these powers. Like, where our job is just to provide physical security. So I can understand actually where the change happened, because it was like, if women are so elevated in society, and then the men may feel like they don't have that power. So maybe you can share a little bit about the men's power, the masculine, the divine masculine.
Yeah. Right now we feel like masculine is just to provide, no? And it is much more like that, because they are also carrying the seed for life. So women are the ones who contain the life, but men are the ones carrying as well the seed. The life is not possible without the seed that the men are carrying it. But still, we cannot do it separately, no? So we need that balance. So still, men have that power of creation that exists also in women. But yeah, in this different way, we are complementing, no? Although all of us, we have both parts. So even men can connect with this receptive way, with this intuition, with this creation power. So yeah, for me also is this seed of life, and how to come back to the emotions, to the body, to balance and find both parts, because also the masculine has been understood in a very wounded way, the providing, the action, always being in the move, no, without being able as well to stop sometimes and following those cycles, those rhythms. And it seems like now women, we are a bit ahead, but but I think we need to just hold hands together to find that balance, because they are also having that creation power inside them, within them.
So if we see that women have like this power of intuition, the power of the shaman, the power of receiving information and wisdom, then where can we talk about the men's powers? Maybe we can share a little bit about where are the men's powers? Yeah,
you see, the feminine, we are always talking about something so abstract. Mm-hmm. So the masculine comes in the concrete thing.
In the concrete, yeah. So, in the creating, in the physical plane.
Exactly. They have that capacity of organizing, see the objective, put the order to go towards the action, you know.
So we are like in the world of spirit more, and they are in the physical world more?
Yeah.
Would you say that?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, kind of.
But within each man, there is feminine and masculine, just as within a woman, there is feminine and masculine.
Exactly. That's why sometimes when we are so much in the feminine, which is more like the flowing, the intuition, whatever, sometimes we are missing that concrete thing.
So we're just doing there, but we're not practically doing anything there.
Exactly. So also for men, if they are so much in this masculine extreme, I'll be acting, but they are not connecting with emotion, with the feminine, with the softness, with the resting. Then there is something missing. There is imbalance.
You know what is so interesting is, we always have this role of the male leader and the woman counselor. Right? And it kind of makes sense because the men were leading the physical world, right? But the women were the ones behind the throne, who were the ones who were bringing the truth to the leader. And so many men I know, they always say that their wives always tell them the truth. Even when they're out there and they're like getting lost in craziness, the women will be like, let me tell you what you're doing right now. So they come back to that truth. So it is kind of it has the potential to be a beautiful partnership, but also the other way around. It doesn't have to be only one way. Mm-hmm. As we know from different societies. Mm-hmm. Some societies are matriarchal, led by women. And many societies have been politically led by men, but at the family level are always led by women. Yeah. Anyways, let's take a break. For now, we'll be right back after this.
Icon Radio.
Welcome back to Deep Talk, Icon Radio, Kenya. So Paula, I want to ask you, so what I'm hearing about your journey is that, you know, you were trying to change the world. And then you said, I'm so exhausted. I have no more energy. And now I want to change myself. And through that journey, you discovered this knowledge system. And it was something that you were drawn to in particular. Like, it wasn't something I was drawn to. And this kind of information started coming into your sphere. So it's like the universe started giving you this knowledge. And now what you do is you work with people in reconnecting to these powers within them, right?
Yeah.
And you call yourself a facilitator.
Yeah.
I use a different word, which I use the word healer. But some people have an issue with that because a healer is like, they think it's like somebody doing something to you. But it's not really what it means. It really means it's somebody who is a vessel for healing energy in different ways. So anyways, just to put that out there. Uh-huh. So basically, this journey took you into something very, very different, although it had a common theme. Because of course your life is going to have a common theme because your soul has been part of that life. So it's always going to have that theme through because that's your soul's theme, right? So I guess my question is, now you're in a completely different world, life, space, friendships, networks, no institution. How has that journey been? How has that part been for you? Because you have to create now or follow your truth. It's a very different way of living, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It has been a fight, actually, with myself all the time. So it has been also a journey of surrendering, constantly surrendering to that. Realizing that every time I'm trying to fight or figure out to do things in certain way or push for something certain way that is not in my path, I will start coming back to this pattern of fighting with myself, and at some point I feel drained again. So I'm able to see, okay, you are repeating it again. Now surrender. So it's like a journey of constantly surrendering, which is not meaning not action, but surrendering to what is really in my path, even if it's not what I'm thinking I should do.
You want to give me an example so people can understand that concept a bit better?
Yeah. For example, I've been working in this for these past months. I've been working in a place where I was working with women as well. I was facilitating workshops. I was doing what I love, but it was inside an institution. So this institution had some rules, and I had to do things in a certain way sometimes. And sometimes also I had to hide a bit my medicine because it was not really understood in this political context. So I had to hide a bit myself or my ways of doing it. So even though it seems was the perfect job because I was doing what I was liking with women, whatever, then at the end it was like, no, you are still fighting with yourself because you are still hiding some part of your medicine and some part of myself. So then I have to surrender. I left a permanent job for second time. I had to tell to my parents, to my family in Spain, because this job was in Spain. So it was kind of like the difficult choice, but internally it was feeling the easiest one.
Choice, yeah.
Because it was like, I'm not fighting. When I'm choosing this, I'm not fighting with myself. Even if the people around me are not understanding and think that I'm crazy again, leaving a permanent job again, it feels right. And it feels easier, actually.
And this concept of surrender, how can we practice it?
I will say start with small things. Sometimes we want to start changing everything in our lives at once. And then we got so tired and we don't change anything at all.
Yeah, that's so true.
So I always say that we should start with small things, just the small things. For example, if I get used to go to a park or a plan for a dinner every week with my friends, and I'm just doing it now because it's just a habit I took, even if I'm not really enjoying it. Okay, I'll just keep doing it because it's just the way I'm doing things. Okay, I can try 1 week not going and see how I feel. Not even with the intention of changing that habit, but with
just to explore.
Exactly, with the intention of observe what is happening. How do I feel? Actually, what's the outcome of that? No?
Yeah. It's like maybe you go home every day and on your way home you have a beer. It's just a usual thing. But you're not really feeling that good doing it. So maybe you can just try and see. And that's a very gentle way of surrender.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also want to add a little bit on surrender, because for me, I feel like we've been taught, like the word has really been used, like surrender, put the white flag up, give up. And for me, what I feel surrender is giving it up. Not giving up, but giving it up. So whatever it is that is challenging you, you give it up to a higher power. And you say, I surrender this to you. And when you're surrendering something upwards, what you're doing is you're saying, I'm not going to hold on to what I think the situation is supposed to happen, what's supposed to happen. I'm going to trust in the higher power, And for me, the real power of surrender is that, so I always say, like when you, let's say you envision what kind of life you want. So visualization or visioning is like a really popular thing. Have a vision board, put everything you want up on that board. And I always like Michael Bernard Beckwith. He's an African-American spiritual teacher. He talks about visioning, which is different. Where instead of you putting up what you desire, you ask the higher power what it desires for you. And that's a much more powerful thing, and there's much more powerful possibility, because when you put up what's on your board, you can only put up what you know. You cannot put up what you don't know, because if my dream life is a beach, it's because I've seen it somewhere. But imagine if there's something I haven't seen. I can't put it up, But when you surrender, the power for me of surrender is that when you surrender, when you give it up, now the higher power can bring in possibilities that you cannot imagine. So even higher possibilities than your dream possibilities. So for me, the power and the beauty of surrender is that you're surrendering to higher outcomes than you could when you're trying to control a situation, right? Mm. So I also see it in a more, we are very different in our practice, right? But you are this gentle, I always talk about you're like this, you just circle somebody around, and because I do one-to-one sessions with Paula and she does one-to-one sessions with me, by the way. So that's how we know each other. But for Paula, her process is like she gently circles around you. She gently creates this warm environment. And as she does that, you slowly open like a flower, just naturally, no force. Whereas for me, I'm kind of like, let's go deep inside and let's find that thing and let's shift it. So it's a very different approach, but two very different versions of surrender. And of course, there are as many versions of surrender as there are souls on the planet, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be right back. After this, we're going to come back and Paula is going to facilitate a beautiful meditation for us. Okay? Very excited.
Icon Radio.
And we're back with Paula, who's going to take us through a meditation. So what I recommend for listeners and viewers is don't bother trying to watch this part because everybody's eyes are going to be closed. So you're not going to see anything. So just, if you're busy doing something, hit pause, wait, find a time where you are going to have like about 7-8 minutes to yourself, 10 minutes to yourself. and then you can hit play and you can join us on this journey. Okay, Paula, over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, and also I wanted to mention that don't expect anything about it. There's nothing that needs to happen or nothing where we have to go. For each of us, it's going to be different, and it's just fine as it is.
Beautiful.
So, yeah. I'm going to invite you to find a comfortable position, whether it's seated in a chair or in the floor. Close your eyes. And you can make some movements if you need until you find that comfortable position. And you're gonna start connecting with your breathing. Being aware how the air is entering through your nose and how it's going out. With each exhale, you're gonna release all the tension, all the things that you have to do. All the things that doesn't allow you to be present in this moment. And with each inhale, you're gonna feel how the air, the life, is entering into your body. Feeling how it's reaching every part of your body. Doing a little scan of your body from your feet to your head, trying to perceive, to connect with how are you right now. If there is any part of your body that is calling for your attention, if you can perceive anything, or maybe you cannot feel anything, it's just fine. And little by little, you are going to take your attention to your sexual organs, to your uterus, to your prostate. And you are going to feel and visualize how some roots are growing from your uterus, from your prostate, towards the earth, entering deep into the earth, grounding you. Connecting you with Mother Earth, with that feminine energy, those roots that reach the center of the earth. And once your roots are connected, you feel how the energy of Mother Earth is coming through those roots to your body. It's bringing love, light, nourishment, anything that you need. It's coming up, entering through your perineum, through your vagina. And now, little by little, you're gonna take your attention to your head, to the crown, the top of your head. And feel how also a tunnel of light is going up towards the sky, connecting you with the energy of the masculine, right in the center of the universe, of the sky. Once you feel that connection, direct connection, you feel the energy entering through the top of your head, that masculine energy fulfilling your body, your upper body. And you start feeling how both energies are approaching each other. The feminine energy coming from Mother Earth, from your lower body. The masculine energy from the sky, from your upper body. They are approaching each other little by little. And they start melting. They become one. You feel how that energy is just becoming one. There is no separation. And it's reaching and fulfilling every part of your body. Just breathe. And feel how does feel in your body. How do you feel now? Both energies inside you as one. Now you are gonna visualize how you are closing the top of your head, and still you are grounded with your roots. And you stay within, just feel that energy within you. And little by little, start coming back to your body, to your physical body. Feeling every part. Feeling the place where you are seated, and you can start maybe making some movements with some parts of your body, the fingers of your hands, your neck, shoulders, any part of your body that allows you to little by little come back to this space, to this moment. And whenever you are ready, you can be gently opening your eyes and come back.
Thank you, Paula. There's a stillness in this studio now. It's like an emptiness and a stillness and a quiet, but there's also like a vibration. It's also the beauty of doing it in a small closed space. Mm-hmm. So I have one more question before I let you go. So you always use the reproductive organs, the prostate for the man and the vagina for the woman, or the uterus. Why? So, because I know there's something about the sexual energy and the creative energy. And maybe you can just a little bit about that before we close, so people understand that.
Yeah, sexual energy and creative energy are the same. They are the same thing, because in our sexual organs is where sexuality, as we understand it, is, and also the seed of life, as I was saying before, but not just the human life, but any kind of life, which is the creation power that we have. So also I work with our bodies, which are different from men and women, because are the gate for us to connect with these energies.
This creative energy.
Exactly.
So when you're saying creative energy, you mean the power to create anything in our lives?
Yes. Not
to
only
create our dreams.
Yeah.
To create beauty, truth, love, joy, everything.
Yeah.
It's from that energy center.
It's not only from that one, it's from the unifying all our energies, all our energy centers.
Okay.
But it starts there because also we have been disconnected, and sexuality has been put in a box as something very specific, which is so much more than that. Mm. That's why it's so important to resignify and connect back with our sexual organs, but with a different approach now.
And probably that's a topic for a whole other show, to explore that. Yeah. But thank you so much. If people are interested in you and your work, how can they find you?
Yeah, thank you. They can find me in Mujer Naturaleza, which means woman.
It's really easy to spell, by the way.
which means woman nature. In Facebook and Instagram, I'm like Mujer Naturaleza Pau. And also in WhatsApp and in Conscious Kenya, in the platform of Conscious Kenya, you can also
So that's
find
probably
me.
the easiest way, rather than trying to spell Mujer Naturaleza.
Yes.
You could just go to Conscious Kenya.
Yes, you will find me there.
.co.ke, and
Yeah.
they'll find you as a practitioner there.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Well, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your story, your truth, and your heart. And yeah, we look forward to having you on again another time.
Thank you so much for this space and for inviting me.
Yeah, you're so welcome. My pleasure. All right, so we will see you next time on Deep Talk. Remember, you can follow us. We are streaming on www.iconradio.co.ke, and we're on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, Icon Radio KE. So we look forward to you, your thoughts, your views, how you experienced that, what you felt. I'd love to hear from you. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Icon Radio, your number one entertainment plug.